Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and to Prairie Farm, Michigan by Taylor Farms. So, we've got a lot to go over today. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Also, at the end, we are going to be going over a bonus. We are going to be going over the actual history of Prairie Farm. So, let's start with the Mod Hub description. This is for all platforms on the Giants Mod Hub. Welcome to the Prairie of Michigan, USA. The map represents a 1/3 scale of a real-life location in Michigan. Huge fields, wide open terrain, and of course, Michigan ditches await you on this map. The terrain closely matches this location as well as the field layouts and ditches. One main farm located on the map along with other viable areas with buildings you can use. You must buy the land before you can use or sell the buildings. There are 3 sell points where you can sell all of the base game crops and products. There are no production buildings, but there is plenty of room for your own to be placed. House plots, not for sale. Custom sugar beet piler factory for added realism with sugar beet harvesting. But after I recorded this video, Taylor Farms posted a post on Facebook clarifying some things, so I am going to put that in somewhere where I think this is going to make sense. But he says, Prairie Farm map has been released on Giants Mod Hub. Feature list. Alfalfa crop added and integrated with animals. Drain tile that will run water in spring and autumn months. Can sell tear dirt for very small profit. Description says you can't, but that's an oops in my end as you can. Pilers now give you 50% more money for your sugar beets if owned. You can sell a piler and it will remain in the map. This was done so if you wanted to try the tear dirt, you could, and if you didn't like it, you can sell it and will be just a normal sell point without dirt. American bale wrap on alfalfa bales, a shed packed full of equipment, large flat fields, forestry area, breakable rocks, transport missions, and deadwood missions, collectibles with completion trophies displayed at the vehicle dealer. I think I am going to go ahead and do a collectible video within the next week once I have time. I am backlogged on videos right now, so I do apologize that these videos aren't coming out as fast as I would want them to, but bear with me. I appreciate the support. Enjoy and have fun with it. Any issues, please use format and pinned post to help save time. Thank you for your support. Note, fence section in field west of vehicle dealer will be removed in future update. For now, just paint grass around it. Update will remove it, and then you can farm that area again. So, back to the rest of the video. When owned by a player, the piler will give you tar dirt. Take dirt back to field and dump. Dirt piles can be leveled and will disappear when using any field working implements. If not owned by player, it will be a sell point without tar dirt. Dirt cannot be sold. Number of purchasable fields 18. Average acre size 49.82. Number of purchasable forestry land 4. Water retrieval sources, build your own. Alfalfa crop added and implemented with the animals. You can feed alfalfa hay to animals. Collectible toy tractors and sugar beets are scattered around map for collecting. Enjoy the map and have fun. Then, on February 17th, he Michigan Farm Maps on Facebook, which is Taylor Farms, put out the history, the story behind the map, and he has a link in here for the history of the actual area, which we'll be reading that after the map tour, but we are going to read the history behind the map right now. The map was built from ground up, new in FS22. It was not on any previous versions of the game. It had massive fields, wide open country, ditches, and around 90% of the map was farm fields. This area is flat with man-made ditches and canals. The map represents about 10% of the actual prairie. The map was made as a standard-sized map in a larger 4X map. Both are currently on Giants Mod Hub, with the 4X being PC only for FS22. The layout closely resembles the actual area, with the exception of needing to put in sell points in the lower left area of the map. Map had very little trees, as this area most have been cut down to maximize farming. It truly was a map that maximized the playable area for farming. It was unique. FS25, the map has been remastered, converted with very slight changes from its predecessor. I have added some wooded sections in the corners of some fields to be able to have the missions that are in FS25. Destroyable rock, wood transport, and deadwood. You can log them off entirely to gain back the total field size if you wish to do that. This was done to meet Giants' requirements to stay true to the FS22 version. It has only a couple sell points, a sawmill, and farmer market. There are some areas left open for you to place what you would like, whether it be animals, grain silo, or productions. My maps will continue to be on the side of full customization without having a lot of deco in the way for the players to be able to design their own farm as they wish, which I love. There isn't a buildable asset on this map, as the focus is large-scale crop farming. A standard-sized map that feels like a 4X map. A full feature list will be posted at time of release. All features in Frankenmuth will be included, as I'm using that map as a base to save time. I hope you enjoy it. Now, we will come back to that web stuff in a minute. I am going to use power tools and turn back on HUD. There is the PDA for this map. Your base game crops with the addition of alfalfa. And your vehicles. The Amazon CN 1501C. The Breedall K105, the Case IH 3050 Terraflex 28 feet, the Case IH 3050 Terraflex 28 feet, Case IH 4408, Case IH 4408, two of the Case IH Axial Flow 7150, Case IH Magnum 340 CVX drive, Case IH Magnum 400 Power Drive, the Case IH Steiger 715 Quad Track, the Case IH Steiger 715 Quad Track, the Elmer's Manufacturing Hallmaster, the Homer HR6, the Homer Terrados 540, the Hardy Mega 1200L, the Hardy Mega 1200L Tank, the International Series 200, the John Deere 6R 185, Tenzi 4905 Blue Drive, the Kubota RTV, the Kubota SVL 97-2, the Lotane Prestige Super B Pull Trailer, and another one of those, the Paladin SFB 750, that is your rock crusher, the Summers Super Chisel CP 2050, two of those, the Thunder Creek Equipment FST 990, that is your fuel trailer, and the Volvo VNX 300. Now, I am going to do a quick flyover. I will do a little time lapse, and then we will go over and look at the farms. So I will be back in a couple minutes. I did this on my Missouri River bottom map tour yesterday, and I liked how it came out, so I want to do it again here. It really shows you the true scale of the map, so I will be back in a few minutes after that time lapse. Alright, flyover is done. I am not sure if I'm going to time-lapse that or not. That really didn't take long. I might leave it, but I guess you'll see what I do before I even say this. So, here are your beet pilers. Yes. Oh. Contracts. Wow, again, a very nice paying contract map. Stone picking for $40,000 right there. So yeah, you are going to be well off for contracts. Oh, awesome. And then your production chains, you have the sawmill wood and the sugar beet pilers. I will buy these at the end of the video and we will go over them more in a few minutes. I am just trying to get everything I need to out to you guys. Animal dealer, farmer's market, Gira elevator, animal dealer, and your sugar beet pilers, I believe, are the only sell points on here. Animal dealer, farmer's market. Yeah. Of course, you could always add your own. There's not a milk sell point, but there's a milk bottled sell point. I'm still getting used to seeing no selling point available for milk because I want you to bottle it before you sell it. Some of the features of FS25 I am still getting used to seeing, because there was just so much new in FS25. We will be getting back to base game map tours, base game map tutorials. Probably not going to be until after I get through everything on Silver Run and the NEXAT pack. I am hoping to try and finish the tutorials on Silver Run before the NEXAT comes out. And then I have everything for the NEXAT to videos on all the NEXAT stuff. And then, as promised, I will finish the based in map tutorials. I have just been, there's so much going on right now. I thank you for your patience. And also, I have to thank you all for the incredible, amazing support here on YouTube lately. YouTube has been killing it, and I give that thanks to you guys. I truly, truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it. Now, let's do a ground tour here and look at some of these farms. This is your sawmill, Noah, farmer's market, and Gira elevator right here. Which like I said, we will buy the productions in a little bit. Some houses here. This, I believe, is the shop. And then here's one of your farms right here. This shed is also part of that farm, I believe. And then you have another house right here. Then you go up this road up here. I believe this is your animal dealer, yes. And then, up here is another farm. I played this map a lot on FS25. I actually had a server. I was on a server with Rob, Moose, Carl, Spooky. Is Adam on that one? Pete. We had this on one of our servers in 22, so, and it doesn't look like it changed a whole lot, so I really know this map pretty well. There's a shed there, house there. And then we go up this way. Yeah, that's your animal dealer. Manure, wood manure, Katie. Yep. So, did I miss anything? There's a forest area here you could cut down and use as a placeable area. See if I can find those for you guys real quick. Here's forest area number 2 you could cut down and use as a placeable area. Same placeable area because it could be a farm. Could be productions. You could put a sell point in there to add more competition to the map. Here's forest area number 3. And there should be one more, I think. I think there's one over here in this corner too. Could be wrong, though. No, that's, yeah. There's a little bit of a forest right here behind the, dirt pilers. Also, another thing I want to show you guys, if you don't do construction and go into sheds, you have all of your sheds right here that you can place down anywhere on the map. Also have this one and this one, so you can place those down. Anything in silos? Yes. And then you also have this one that holds 600 pallets or bales. I don't think there's anything in the rest of this. No. Factories. Nothing. Animals? Were there any custom animal pens on here? I don't think so. No. And then the other thing I want to look at, it is your base game painting. So, there you go. That is the end of the map tour section of this video. If you want to hear some history of the real life Prairie Farm area, you can stick around. Otherwise, I get it if you don't. But Prairie Farm, 10,000 acres of agricultural history. Open and shop. Prairie Farm in southern Saginaw County is still cultivated today by a group of private landowners. The Historical Society of Michigan, nonprofit publisher of Michigan History Magazine, is partnering with MLive to share excerpts of the magazine's contents 6 times a year, coinciding with when the bi-monthly magazine is on sale at newsstands. Read more in the current issue of Michigan History Magazine by Mark Richardson. At the turn of the 19th century, a vast marsh, the bottom of an ancient glacial lake, existed a short distance south of today's city of Saginaw. Sorry if I botching that, I probably am. Most early European settlers dismissed the wet land as worthless, but others recognized it had agricultural potential, enriched for millennia by decaying vegetation and alluvial silts deposited by tributaries of the Saginaw River. The marsh would prove fertile. After the Civil War, Saginaw, maybe it's Saginaw? Let me know if I have either one of those pronunciations of that word right in the comments. If you know, real estate developer Heartland P. Smith and partners Charles H. Camp and George B. Brooks began searching for fertile land. By the mid-1880s, they had assembled a 10,000-acre parcel about 17 miles south of Saginaw in Albee Township, and including parts of Spalding St. Charles, and including parts of Spalding St. Charles and James Townships. They called it Prairie Farm. Half of Prairie Farm was open water, the other half was subject to spring flooding. The owners began clearing the 7-foot-tall marsh grass and digging drains, but they were investors, not farmers, and the venture quickly proved too expensive. In the 1890s, they sold Prairie Farm to the Saginaw Realty Co., and business partly owned by Harry T. and William J. Wickles. Saginaw Realty constructed more drains and managed to cultivate some land, but the company also lacked the wherewithal to do more than hint at Prairie Farm's potential. A new crop is introduced. In the 1890s, Yeah, the 1890s brought large-scale sugar beet production to the United States, unrest in Cuba, frequent hurricanes, and expensive transportation encouraged producers to find alternatives to sugarcane grown in the Caribbean. Several sugar beet companies were established in Michigan. In 1903, one of them, the Owizu Sugar Co., bought Prairie Farm. Owizu Sugar was owned by the Pitcairn family, multi-millionaires, owners of the Pittsburgh Platte Glass Company. Prairie Farm had the backing it needed to complete the drainage work and cultivate most of the land. Oswego Sugar excavated a network of drainage ditches and enclosed the land with a 30-mile long dike, averaging 18 feet in height, a pump house capable of discharging up to 160,000 gallons of water an hour was constructed on an embankment next to the Flint River. Then a 6-mile railroad spur was built, connecting the farm to the Grand Trunk line at Birch Run. In 1917, Prairie Farm had become the nation's largest farm east of the Mississippi River. Eastern European immigrants originally worked the fields. When World War I disrupted European immigration, Prairie Farm became one of the first Michigan farms to employ migrant laborers from Mexico. Operations were centered at Alicia, a settlement named after the daughter of one of the Pitcairn brothers. A 1970 visitor described Alicia as 4-story yellow-framed cottages housing workers, families, a large clubhouse, a general store, and assembly hall. Across the road are several large barns, cattle sheds, wagon machinery, and tool houses, and a large grain elevator. Prairie Farm also had a post office and telephones, as well as electricity and running water supplied from its own generators and water plant. Much of Prairie Farm's success can be attributed to its talented and energetic manager, Jacob DeGeese, a native of Holland. DeGeese came to Prairie Farm in 1904 and was appointed manager the following year. DeGeese diverse the crops and introduced livestock, including sheep and pigs, in the mid-1920s, so during the Roaring Twenties. Overproduction and an unfavorable tariff system caused a depression in American agriculture several years before the Great Depression hit, which was 1930, when the Great Depression started. The Oswego Sugar Company went out of business in 1928, and ownership of Prairie Farm reverted to the Pitcairn family. As the country slid deeper into economic distress, the family decided to sell. The story of Prairie Farm was about to take an unusual turn. A collective is established. In 1993, mid-Depression, I believe the Depression was still going in 1933, a newspaper editor named Joseph J. Coheen received a call from a friend in Detroit who asked if Coheen was interested in buying Prairie Farm. Joseph Coheen became a political radical while serving in the Chezist Army. After leaving Russia, he settled in New York and became editor of Prairie Arbiter Scene and Archist newspaper. I will put the link to this in the description of this video, as well as a link to Michigan's Facebook page if you want to look at these yourself. Coheen and his fellow libertarian anarchists believe society should peacefully reconstitute into cooperative communities. Self-sustaining networks of these communities would eventually develop, eliminating the need for national government. During a visit to Detroit in January 1933, Coheen drafted an outline for a self-sustaining cooperative community. Before he left, a meeting of 15 people created a charter for the Sunrise Cooperative Farm community. The charter, based mostly on Tohin's outline, required families joining the cooperative to pay a non-refundable fee of $1,000, later reduced to $500. The land and all property of common use would be owned by the community. The charter prohibited the cooperative from borrowing money. Tohin left the newspaper and began recruiting Sunrise cooperative members. Eventually, about 300 people would participate. Tohin learned that Prairie Farm could be purchased for $171,000, including buildings, equipment, livestock, and delinquent property taxes, a remarkably low price even for those times. After an inspection tour conducted by the retired Jacob DeGees, Tohin returned to Detroit and advised the cooperative to buy the property. On June 26, 1933, Sunrise became the new owner of Prairie Farm, subject to a $125,000 mortgage and a separate note for $4,000 representing what Tohin had to borrow to close. The cooperative started operations with $1,000 in its bank account, $129,000 in debt, and a violation of a key provision of its charter. Sunrise's shareholders arrived and found a 2,000-acre sugar beet crop needed immediate attention. There also were peppermint, oat, barley, hay, and other crops to attend to, along with 2,000 sheep, 1,000 lambs, 200 pigs, and a cow. Sunrise's difficulties began with operating the farm. Almost all of the new residents were city people unprepared for the rigors of farming. Most were willing to work hard, but some contributed nothing. Tohin concluded Sunrise could not bring in the harvest without experienced farm workers. Hundreds of outsiders were hired, including Jacob DeGees, who was employed as an advisor. Dissent developed. The farm, This is long. The first harvest was successful, but Sunrise's prospects had dimmed. The workers' wages saddled the cooperative with significant additional debt. Despite the difficulties, Sunrise reaped another good harvest in 1934, but disaster struck in 1935. Heavy rains and an army war infestation cut the sugar beet crop in half and destroyed the corn and soybeans. Sunrise obtained a $35,000 loan from the Michigan State Emergency Relief Administration to keep going, but by the end of the year, the cooperative was on the brink of financial collapse. Some members began to leave. Changing hands again. In December 1936, the cooperative was sold. Prairie Farm in December 1936, the cooperative sold Prairie Farm to the Federal Rural Rehabilitation Corp., a New Deal agency established to revive the agricultural sector. The $278,000 price covered the mortgage and all of Sunrise's outstanding debts. The irony that a cooperative dedicated to rendering government irrelevant had to turn to the government to avoid bankruptcy could not have been lost on Joseph Tohin. Sunrise briefly operated the farm as a government tenant, but by January 1937, there were only 25 families left. A second attempt at cooperative farming in Virginia proved fruitless, and Sunrise dissolved in 1938. Tohin later wrote that the cooperative failed because its members were inexperienced at farming, unable to adjust to rural isolation, and uncomfortable with communal living. While accurate, Tohin left out his own mistakes, which included recruiting members without screening and disregarding his rule about debt. The truth was that Prairie Farm had seduced Joseph Tohin, acquiring one of the largest and richest farms in the country at a rock-bottom price was something even an anarchist could not resist. In 1945, the federal government sold Prairie Farm to an association that subsequently divided the land into parcels and sold them to private farmers. About 20 farmers work the land today. They operate the Signal Prairie Farm Cooperative to jointly purchase supplies and market their crops. So there you go. That is a map tour and some history of prairie farms. This is a longer video. If you only watched the map tour part, I did it. But being a history freak myself, I felt I wanted to read that to you guys because I thought some of you guys would also be interested in it. If you have not already, do not forget to follow. That would be greatly appreciated. With that, have an awesome day, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.